Did you know that a single worn wire, something a roll of electrical tape could fix for $2, can produce fault codes that look exactly like a $400 sensor failure? Your car's sensors don't operate independently. They're all feeding into the same logic loop. And when one part of that loop goes wrong, the code that fires isn't always pointing at the broken part. It's pointing at the sensor that noticed it. We've lined up 9 of the most misdiagnosed sensors in any car, and the pattern is going to surprise you. Number 1, mass airflow, MAF, sensor. So the MAF sensor code fires. You drive to the parts store, spend maybe $200 on a new sensor, bolt it in, and 2 weeks later, the same code is back. That's not a coincidence. That's a diagnostic mistake playing out exactly the way it always does. The MAF sensor sits just after the air filter and measures how much air flows into the engine so the ECU can calculate the right amount of fuel. When that measurement goes wrong, the engine stumbles at idle, hesitates under acceleration, or runs so rich you can smell it. But a cracked intake boot sitting 6 inches downstream can let unmetered air sneak past the sensor, and the fuel trims go haywire in a way that looks identical to a dead MAF. Before you pull that sensor, run a fuel trim check. Short-term trims swinging past plus or minus 10% mean the air leak is upstream, and a new MAF won't touch it. Number 2, oxygen, O2 sensor. The O2 sensor is probably the most replaced sensor in the American car fleet, and a huge chunk of those replacements didn't need to happen. You get a P0171 or P0174, the parts store scanner points at the O2 sensor, you spend up to $200, and 6 months later the same code fires again. What the O2 sensor actually does is measure oxygen content in the exhaust stream so the ECU can adjust fuel delivery in real time. When the engine runs lean, there's too much oxygen in the exhaust, and the O2 sensor reports that accurately. The ECU logs a lean code. But the sensor didn't fail. It told you the engine was lean, which is exactly its job. A clogged fuel injector, a weak fuel pump, or a vacuum leak causes that lean condition, and the O2 sensor sits downstream of all of it, just reporting the result. SE diagnostic guides consistently say fuel pressure testing and a vacuum leak check should happen before the O2 sensor gets touched. On a live data scanner, a healthy O2 sensor on a lean engine shows a flat, low-voltage waveform. And that's not a dead sensor reading. What you want to see is fast switching voltage between roughly 0.1 and 0.9 volts. And if it's switching fast but sitting low, the fuel system needs attention, not the sensor. Number 3, tire pressure monitoring sensor, TPMS. Every car sold in the US after 2008 has a TPMS sensor in each wheel, and most drivers interact with it exactly once. The light comes on, they add air, done. But those sensors are doing something else entirely that has nothing to do with tire pressure. Each TPMS sensor broadcasts a unique wireless ID continuously while the wheels spin. And researchers from IMDEA Networks Institute showed those signals can be picked up from over 50 meters away using equipment anyone can buy. Because that ID is fixed to your specific vehicle, someone with the right receiver can log every place you park and map your daily routes without getting anywhere near your car. The signal isn't encrypted and doesn't need to pair with anything to broadcast. The TREAD Act mandated TPMS in 2000 for safety reasons. But nobody required the transmission to be secure or anonymous, so it wasn't. Insurance companies and data brokers already know what that kind of continuous location data can reveal about how you drive. Number 4, engine coolant temperature sensor. The coolant temp sensor costs $15 to $40, and when it fails, it doesn't throw a dramatic code or light up the dash. It just starts feeding the ECU a wrong temperature, and the ECU acts on it like it's gospel. Every fuel enrichment decision, every fan trigger, every timing adjustment the ECU makes during warm-up depends on that reading. So if the sensor stays stuck on cold when the engine's fully warmed up, the ECU keeps dumping extra fuel into the cylinders, like the engine never got there. Fuel economy drops 10 to 15%. The catalytic converter gets soaked with unburned hydrocarbons, and eventually you get an O2 code or a catalyst efficiency code, neither of which mentions the coolant temp sensor. mechanics replace the downstream parts, while the cheap sensor keeps corrupting the data. Grab a scanner and an infrared thermometer. After a full warm-up, compare the readings, and a $20 sensor fix stops looking like a $400 parts problem. Number 5. Crankshaft position sensor. A complete crankshaft position sensor failure is actually the easier version of this problem, because at least you know what happened. The engine won't start, you scope it, you find the fault, you fix it. The intermittent failure is the one that catches people off guard. The crankshaft position sensor tracks exactly where the crankshaft is in its rotation and how fast it's spinning, so the ECU knows when to fire each injector and each ignition coil. When the sensor starts dropping signal for a fraction of a second, the ECU loses sync and the engine stalls. But then the sensor comes back online and the engine recovers. No code stored, no warning light. These dropouts get worse as the engine heats up because the sensor's internal components expand and the connection degrades. A standard OBD2 scanner won't catch it. You need a lab scope connected directly to the signal wire, watching for flat spots in the waveform that disappear before the ECU logs anything. Number 6. Camshaft position sensor. Cam sensor codes feel like an easy fix, so most people just buy the sensor, swap it out, and expect the code to disappear. On an engine with variable valve timing, that swap fixes almost nothing if the oil is the actual problem. The camshaft position sensor monitors where the cam sits relative to the crankshaft, and it feeds that data to the VVVT solenoid that adjusts cam timing on the fly. When the timing slips, you get a P0011 or P0021. The parts store says camshaft sensor, and you spend $60 on a part that won't clear the code because the VVT solenoid is still packed with sludge from old oil. Number 7. Knock sensor. The knock sensor bolts directly to the engine block and listens for detonation, that sharp metallic ping that happens when fuel ignites unevenly under load. When it detects knocking, it signals the ECU to retard ignition timing before the hammering damages anything. A P0325 or P0330 code fires, the engine keeps running fine, and most drivers clear the code and move on. Without a working knock sensor, the ECU goes deaf to detonation, so the knocking continues unchecked, and the pistons, rod bearings, and cylinder walls absorb every hit. Number 8. Throttle position sensor, TPS. Transmission shops see this constantly. A driver comes in with a car that hesitates on acceleration, surges at highway speed, and shifts all over the place. And the shop quotes a rebuild. The transmission is fine. The throttle position sensor is sending garbage data, and every other system is just reacting to it. The TPS tells the ECU exactly how far open the throttle plate sits at any moment, and the ECU uses that number to calculate fuel delivery, ignition timing, and shift commands. A worn resistive track or a loose connector makes that signal jump around instead of sweeping smoothly, so the ECU hunts for the right fuel map and the transmission shifts at the wrong times. The rough shifting gets the attention because it's the most noticeable symptom. So fluid gets changed and solenoids get inspected while the TPS keeps corrupting everything. Number 9. ABS wheel speed sensor. This is the only sensor on the list where ignoring the warning light can directly increase your stopping distance during a panic stop, and that's a specific kind of dangerous. Each wheel speed sensor feeds real-time rotation data to the ABS module so it knows exactly how fast each wheel spins. When one sensor sends a bad reading, the module thinks that wheel locked up and pulses the brake pressure to release it, even if the wheel's spinning fine. You need every foot of stopping distance you can get in an emergency, and the ABS is eating some of it. What usually causes these codes isn't the sensor, it's the tone ring, a toothed metal ring the sensor reads to calculate speed. Road salt corrodes those teeth in northern states until some are missing entirely, and no new wheel speed sensor fixes a damaged tone ring because the sensor's reading accurately, just reading something broken. You won't believe how often a hub assembly replacement solves a code that two sensors couldn't. Fixing that pattern doesn't require expensive tools. Pull live data, check wiring, verify upstream conditions before you condemn anything. A $2 tape fix on a chafed wire beats a $400 sensor swap every time you actually follow the diagnostic path, instead of skipping straight to the parts counter.